For about 6 or 7 years now, I've been working out of a research group at the Harvard Graduate School of Education called Project Zero. And we, in recent years, have been looking at young people's moral and ethical sensibilities online. And we're really interested in and studying the nature of their thinking when they're in new media environments. What kinds of things are they alert to and paying attention to, and what do they fail to see or think about? So in order to study those issues, we conducted qualitative interviews with over 100 young people between the ages of 10 and 25, asking them about their various online activities, social networking, blogging, online gaming, whatever they were involved in online, and asked them about their experiences there and how they thought about some of the potentially morally or ethically loaded issues that come up and how they responded to those issues. We also presented them with hypothetical dilemmas that were morally or ethically tinged to understand their responses to those kinds of situations that they may not have experienced directly or may not bring up on their own in the interview. Our research was really interested in looking at 5 different fault lines that we think are relevant in a moral or ethical sense online. Those fault lines are identity, or the nature of self-expression, and when that self-expression can cross over to deception. Privacy, what are the limits of the information we share about ourselves and the information and content we share about other people. Ownership and authorship, what's the status of those concepts in our contemporary remix, download, and copy and paste environment. Credibility, how do we assess our own credibility, assess the trustworthiness of others, as well as information sources online. And then this broad category of participation, how do we develop norms and codes of conduct for treating one another in these virtual spaces where we can't see one another, but our actions can have significant impact. Well, we found that young people, their ways of thinking are most often keyed to the consequences to themselves of particular actions. So their key considerations in making online choices have to do with, will I get into trouble, and are the rewards or the risks of doing what I'd like to do, whether it be downloading a piece of music illegally or sharing photos of a party on Facebook, are those rewards of doing those things worth the risks? And that's something we call consequence thinking, and that really dominated their considerations. Perhaps not surprising, but we were really interested in that fact that mode of thinking was most common in a space where your actions can really affect other people. We also found that young people are really good at moral thinking, especially thinking about people they know well, their close friends, their strong ties. But not necessarily their weak ties, but they were really good at doing empathetic perspective taking, considering principles of fairness and justice in relation to those people who they know well. They could do a good job of imagining how a friend would feel in response to a particular online action, like posting a sarcastic comment on their Facebook wall that could be misinterpreted. So we saw a good amount of moral thinking, but we were most interested in the incidence of ethical thinking, which is a more abstract capacity to think about how your actions can affect a wider community, not just the people you know well, those strong ties, but also those weak ties that are inevitably a part of network publics. And for many of the youth with whom we spoke, their friendship groups on a site like Facebook, they number in the thousands. So they have a lot of weak ties. They have, in a way, conditions for thin trust. So how are they thinking about the fact that the things that they share on these sites reverberate out? And we found that ethical thinking, while used by all the young people we interviewed, wasn't the most common mode of thinking. And we also found, actually it was the least prevalent mode of thinking, I should say, and we also found that youth evinced a number of different blind spots in relation to moral or ethical issues online. So we would talk with them about certain situations, and they would appear to be, in their narratives, blind to the moral or ethical dimensions of a situation, such as music piracy. If we asked them if they had any concerns about downloading content or appropriating content from someone without permission or without payment, their concerns might be limited to things like getting a virus on their computer or getting caught and getting into trouble. There was not this move beyond to think about the larger set of stakeholders involved in the music industry and how their actions may affect those other stakeholders. So that was one of our key findings, is the notion that these blind spots exist with regard to some of these moral or ethical issues. And the question I have about that is, are there certain features of online environments that dull our sensitivity to some of those moral or ethical concerns?